Around a dozen projects are underway around the world to build sustainable, ultra-modern cities from the ground up. While they may never be realized, the proposals themselves provide a peek at what the city of the future might look like. Hello, and welcome back to INO6, where we discuss everything about innovation, construction, and future civilization. In today's video, we'll see the American dream of a sustainable city, the Telosa city built in Utah. So, without wasting time, let's get started. According to newly released details, Telosa will be built on 150,000 acres in either Nevada, Utah, or Arizona, and will house 50,000 diverse people by 2030. Lore is a successful entrepreneur who sold Jet.com to Walmart for $3.3 billion, and the parent organization of Diapers.com to Amazon for $545 million. Telosa can come to Utah. Billionaire Mark Lore is considering Utah as a possible location for his new city, Telosa, state along with Nevada, Idaho, Arizona, Texas, and somewhere in the Appalachians, based on economic and regulatory state policies, regional taxation, types of industries and workforces, energy, food, water, waste and materials, climate, infrastructure, land availability, and livability. Lore made his wealth in 2016 when he sold his business Jet.com to Walmart for $3.3 billion. Previously, in 2010, he sold Diapers.com to Amazon for $545 million. He plans to fund a portion of the $500 billion projects with his own money, leveraging donors, government grants, and private investors, as well as providing funds from his own pocket. Telosa, the proposed metropolis, would contain indoor farming, energy-efficient structures, self-driving electric cars, high-speed transportation, and a new property ownership model geared at reducing the wealth gap. Lore, a former Walmart CEO, refers to it as equity. Telosa would keep ownership of the land, but anyone might build and sell houses on it. As the city grows, the land value should increase over time, and the proceeds should be invested and used to pay for fair access to healthcare, good schools, parks, safe streets, and transportation. It's a redesigned capitalism, Lore explains. Why Utah can be best. Utah has a penchant for creating heaven. Beginning with later-day Saint leader Brigham Young in 1845, the state had been home to a long line of groups seeking new community, religious, or economic objectives. Young honed in on Salt Lake City after trekking through Texas, northern Mexico, and Oregon until, in 1847, he led 12,000 pioneers to the valley and famously said, "Here is the spot." Young sought a safe haven for followers of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints that was not under the jurisdiction of the United States government, and Utah did not enter the Union until 1896. According to Paul Reeve, University of Utah history professor and chair of Mormon studies, he assumed that Mormons would be free from outside economic and religious influences there. The Pilgrims established various economic missions throughout the area. Iron missions were established in Cedar City, cotton missions in St. George, and lead missions in Las Vegas. People had no private property and shared housing and dining halls, as well as wearing unit-ordered attire and eating the same cuisine. A few years later, church members established the ZCMI, afterward termed America's first department store, where citizens could purchase all of their necessities. According to Reeve, the goal was to protect themselves against the volatility of capitalistic market forces and cyclical downturns. They made an effort to look after themselves and this utopian concept. Things didn't work out as planned, and within a year, the majority of the missions failed to backbiting, selfishness, and unhappiness with the goods. Designing paradise. According to Mark Gillum, an urban designer professor at the University of Oregon, researchers have researched utopias since the 19th century and shown that such economic models rarely function. They go against human nature, he argues, which is essentially selfish and self-centered. In contrast to a top-down economic strategy, he claims that most cities expand organically over time. Even so, the concept of building a utopian city is gaining popularity among the wealthy. Bill Gates intends to develop a smart city on 2,800 acres outside of Phoenix. Jeffrey Burns, a Bitcoin billionaire, aims to develop his own smart city on 67,000 acres in Nevada. In England, Prince Charles founded Poundbury, which has no zoning and is intended to restrict car traffic. There is a lot of egos involved, as well as a desire to make an impression, explains Gillum. Utah has long been obsessed with constructing the promised land, or what some refer to as Utopia. Venture investors, both Mormon and ex-Mormon, have supported paradoxical initiatives. A lot of our funding ideals in Utah resonate through the decades, says Ben Kolendar, Salt Lake City's Director of Economic Development. A lot of new concepts are being tested here. Consider Summit Powder Mountain. In 2008, at least 40 billionaires each committed $1 million to purchase Powder Mountain and transform it into a ski-in, ski-out tech community with co-working spaces, futuristic-looking residences, and quarterly Burning Man-style conferences. Elliot Bisnow, Brett Levy, Jeremy Schwartz, and Jeff Rosenthal, 4 young entrepreneurs, bought the remote ski resort in Eden, about 60 miles north of Salt Lake City, with dreams of creating an exclusive, socially conscious community, hosting events that rally around entrepreneurship, altruism, and big ideas in art, science, and culture. Their daring real estate venture has become a magnet for Silicon Valley's elite, including billionaire Richard Branson, Netflix CEO Reed Hastings, 4-Hour Workweek expert Tim Ferriss, and PayPal co-founder Ken Howry. Typically, the commodity is how secluded you can be. It's all about getting close and celebrating that here. Architect Brian McKay Loynes told the Wall Street Journal, Daybreak, a 4,000-acre planned community in South Jordan, was also built, with some residences even positioned on the waters of Oakworth Lake. A 1% surcharge on all property purchases funds the community amenities and activities, and a stage was created in the center to attract eateries and art acts. In the next 20 years, the town might have 20,000 residents and 9.1 million square feet of business space. The developers, a subsidiary of mining company Rio Tinto, will construct The Points, a car-free community that fosters innovation and technological advancement, on 600 acres of state-owned land. Working to create a modern city, the state's wide-open expanses and natural beauty have long drawn rugged individuals who want the government to stay out of their business, according to Reeve. And it's becoming more popular as a tourist destination these days. Utah has been named a top state for living and starting a business, with more tech company exits and billionaires than the rest of the country. Because of job and salary growth, Provo, Orem, and Salt Lake City are in the top 4 of the Milken Institute's best performing cities this year. Trying to attract folks to come to Utah 15 years ago was kind of like, nah, I'm going to stay in the valley, Utah tech mogul Ryan Smith told Fox Business last year. However, not everyone believes the state is a promised land. There are definitely things that are great about Utah. Our work ethic, our ability to sell things, our younger population. It's a great place to start a business and a great place to live, says Luke Gunderson, founder of Lehigh-based Beehive Ventures. However, I wouldn't call it a mecca. Still, one thing Utah has in abundance is open space. Lore's team has visited Utah many times in the previous year, meeting with business leaders and people, and will begin meeting with state authorities early this year. He claims that Utah has several appealing characteristics, including less regulation and being a fiscally sound state. And if they want dessert, Lore's team hopes to create creative methods to water, which, if successful, might be reproduced elsewhere and spread to other cities. If it doesn't, it might be troublesome, putting further strain on an already overburdened state suffering from one of the worst droughts in recent history. The Colorado River is drying up, and several western states, including Utah, will be forced to reduce their water use. Building a city is one thing, but running it is quite another, according to Kolendar. A city requires a vast back end, therefore Telosa's site might be carefully positioned to be close enough to another city to connect to sewer, roads, motorways, and water. We've got plenty of it, Kolendar adds. People will come because there is such a high need for housing. He believes that rubbish collection, road paving, building permit processing, and the development of a diverse economy are all necessary to prevent the entire system from collapsing in a single recession. You'll have expenses and revenues no matter where you live. There are some realities there, but Kolendar embraces the ambitious concept. Lore intends to begin discussions with state governors in January 2022 and to select Telosa's state partner by the end of the year. Lore's 50-person volunteer and paid staff team will select the exact location in early 2023. We're doing a high-level examination of potential locations and have concluded in-depth analysis of 2 sites in the United States. We're conducting the analysis using architectural, engineering, economic, and transportation resources. John Mallon, a Telosa founding member, says, ultimately, we will need to consult with local residences before making a decision. Telosa, according to Lore, could eventually cover 200,000 acres, roughly the size of New York. He plans to populate the city with 50,000 people on various ages, income levels, races, and religions, with the goal of eventually housing 5 million people. His venture capital firm would invest in Telosa-based startups, and inhabitants would come for jobs, education, and a new way of life. Lore says, if we built a new modern American city in the desert for 5 million people, that land would be worth $1 trillion. The Telosa Foundation would accumulate this value before selling the land to create a diverse portfolio of financial assets, such as hedge funds, stocks, or bonds. He claims that the investments could generate $50 billion per year. This might allow all citizens, regardless of income, to benefit from strong schools, healthcare, and municipal amenities. So you'll have 3 times as much as is currently invested in social services. Lore argues, there would be a massive shift in the wealth and income disparities. Despite great hopes and a desire to establish a new form of society, Lore's team is resolved not to fall into the pitfalls of prior idealistic societies. The Telosa team is collaborating with experts from various disciplines to determine the most sustainable infrastructure, urban design, economy, and city services. According to Malin, no solution is flawless and all human systems have defects. Malin claims that they studied previous initiatives to figure out how to avoid making the same mistakes. Discovering inventive answers to those problems may appear idealistic, but everything we do is founded on facts and research, Malin explains. This is not a fantasy. That's it for today. Hope you liked the video. Share it if you did. Like and comment on the video that you want to see next on our channel, and subscribe to see our future videos. We'll see you in the next video. Till then, keep watching.